All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today you should pause this video at this moment so that you can complete the do now to the best of your ability and then check back to make sure that you've got it. So number one, the answer is no, this is not a reflection. This is actually a rotation. And then number two, we're going to take this point 1, -5, and reflect over the x-axis. So remember, with the x-axis, the x stays the same, the y changes. And if you're going to reflect over the y equals x line, remember you flip-flop the coordinates. Okay? So in the first case, the x is going to stay the same, so I'll call this q prime, would be 1, and the y changes. Well, it's -5, so it's going to become +5. And for q, and I'll call this double prime, the y is going to come first, and then the x. So those are the coordinates you should have. Go ahead and pause the video at this time. You may listen to music if you want to. And you're going to go through exploratory and practice. It's this is page 6 through 8 in your packet. All right. So basically what you're doing is make sure you read what it says. We've been exploring transformation. So first we're going to look at these. This is called a line of reflection. And remember, when you're reflecting, it means that all the sides are going to be congruent, and you're just going to reflect it across the line of reflection. So you've got to try to take this point, and you're going to reflect it directly across, and it's going to be about the same distance on the other side. And you're going to go ahead and do that for all the other points. So this point here is going to be about here. Okay, this point is about twice as far as that one. Here we go. A little bit beyond this one, and this one's about twice as far, again, about over here. And it doesn't have to be perfect. The idea is that you understand that when you reflect across, and this in this case would be the y-axis, the shape flips. It just flips over to the other side. So go ahead and work through that. And remember, when you have an overlapping, like for example this one here, again, you're going to flip this way. This one's going to flip back in this direction. Here, this one's going to be about here. This one's going to flip across this way. This is going to be about here. So remember, you're going to have an overlapping shape if the shape lands on the line of reflection. Now, at this point, we're talking about, okay, so after you've worked through now flipping across the x-axis in different locations, we're now going to talk about a rotation. So a rotation is when you take a shape and you turn it. All right, so for this is on page 8. So at this point we should be at page 8. And what I would like you to do is you're going to actually take a piece of patty paper, which is that stuff, that tracing paper. And when you go ahead and trace this point, I'd like you to also draw the x and y axis. Okay, so if you're going to do a 90-degree rotation, say, remember this direction is clockwise, and if you turn this direction, this is counterclockwise. All right, and each one of these turns, every time you go into a coordinate grid, so this would be a 90-degree counterclockwise, and if you lined it up over here, it would be a 90 degrees clockwise. Now, if you turn twice, so if you turn the patty paper twice, this would be 180 degrees. And if you turn it twice this way, this would be 180 degrees as well. Okay? So remember that. A 90-degree counterclockwise is the same as a 270-degree counterclockwise. And a 90-degree counterclockwise is the same as a 270 degrees clockwise. Basically going 1, 2, 3 turns around. 90 plus 90 plus 90 is 270. Okay, so if you trace this on your patty paper, and then go ahead and trace this shape, this pentagon here as well, you can go ahead and turn it. Let me see if I can do it. You can turn the entire thing, but you want to turn it along with, turn it on your patty paper. You should be able to notice what happens. It's kind of difficult for me to do on the screen. Now at the bottom, Sorry, a little technical difficulties down there. All right, down here, what you're going to do is, again, take your patty paper, and when you trace, you want to make sure you draw your y and x axis, like this. Okay, and this one you're going to turn 180 degrees. So you're actually going to rotate it 2 times and see where it ends up. Here you're going to rotate 270 degrees clockwise, which is the same as 90 degrees counterclockwise. And here you're going to turn 360 degrees. So you should end up exactly where you were. Just so you can kind of see where your shape ends up when you do that. So that's kind of giving you an idea, discovery of what we're going to be talking about today. So today we're going to be talking about rotations. And remember, it's a transformation in which a figure is turned about a fixed point. And usually we call this fixed point the center of rotation. Usually the center of rotation is at 0, 0, which is what we call the origin. Okay? So if you had this shape here, you'll notice this is a 90-degree rotation. And you'll see that when you flip this 90 degrees counterclockwise, you're going against the clock, it's just going to turn it on its, it was on its side, so it's going to turn it so that it's sitting up. And notice also you want to check, like this is C, this is C prime. So C prime is the image after the rotation has occurred. All right. And then our angle of rotation, in this case, it would be a 90 degree, and the direction would be counterclockwise, CCW. Okay. So when you rotate a figure 90 degrees, either clockwise or counterclockwise, you're just moving 1 quadrant. And if you rotate a figure 180 degrees, you're actually moving it 2 quadrants, either to the left or to the right. All right. Let's try some practice problems. Okay, so this is actually your homework for tonight. So let's go ahead and look. It says a 90-degree clockwise about the origin. So the first thing I like to do is draw a little arrow indicating the clockwise direction. Okay, so I know that I'm taking this shape and I'm actually rotating it this way. And again, you can use patty paper. You can trace the shape. I have it out for you if you need it. It's at the back table. You can trace the shape and do that. Or you can just look at the coordinates. So the rule is that for a 90-degree clockwise, is that xy is going to go to, you're going to flip the coordinates, and the x is going to change sign. So if I'm looking at the coordinate e is at -4, 5. What's going to happen at e prime is that the y is going to come first, and the x is going to change sign. So it was negative, it's going to become +4. So I'm going to go over 5, up 4, and here's where e prime is. And it's exactly where I expect it to be. All right, now I'm going to look at f. F is at 1, 4. So f prime, 4 is going to come first, and the 1 is going to change sign. So I'm going to go over 4 and down 1. There's f prime. For d, same thing. My coordinates are -4, 1. So d prime, I'm going to flip-flop them, and the 4 is going to go positive. Over 1, up 4. So actually it lands here. This is d prime, and then g prime, well, the coordinate g is at -2, -1. So g prime, the coordinates are going to flip-flop, and then the 2 is going to become positive because it says the opposite. It goes to the opposite. So I'm going to go -1, up 2, it should be here. So then when I connect my dots, I should get the same shape. It's just rotated. It's just turned a little bit. Okay, so that's at 90 degrees clockwise. This is the rule. For example, number 2, I'm doing 180, and 180 doesn't matter if it's clockwise or counterclockwise. 180, you're just going to take the coordinates and they both become negative. There's no flip-flopping in 180 degrees. So if I take the coordinate s, which is at -3, -3, s prime is just at 3, 3. over 3, up 3. If I take the point T, which is at 1, negative 1, T prime is going to be at negative 1, positive. Negative 1, positive. Here. And the coordinate point U, which is at 2, negative 5, U prime would be at negative 2, positive 5. Again, you're just making them both negative. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so you'll see that your shape has rotated in 2 quadrants. It's gone here to 90, and then here again to 1. Let's move on. This is a 90-degree counterclockwise, so it's going to be different than clockwise. Remember, clockwise is going to the right. Counterclockwise is turning to the left. Okay, so a counterclockwise goes this way. And so what happens to x, y? Well, they flip-flop, and then the y coordinate changes sign. So if I'm looking at the point I, which is here at negative 5, 2, I prime is going to go to negative 2, and the negative 5 is going to stay the same. Because the x stays the same, they just switch spots. So negative 2, negative 5 is right here at I. H, well, H is at negative 4, negative 1. So you're going to flip-flop. H prime is going to be at positive 1, because the y changes sign, negative 4. So positive 1, 2, 3, 4 right here will be H prime. K. K is currently at 1, 1. So K is going to go to negative 1, 1. And which one did I do? J. J is at 2, 4. It's going to go to negative 4, 2. And you'll notice that here's my new shape. Oh, I made a mistake. You should have done this. This one right here, I'm looking at it, I'm like, this does not look right. So K is at negative 1, 1. But now J, this is negative 2, 4. So it's going to go to negative 4, negative 2. That makes more sense. Now it should look more like the original shape. So if you look back and your shape is not exactly like it was, please make sure you go back and change it. All right, counterclockwise, again, if it's a 90-degree counterclockwise, my coordinates are going to go on negative y, comma x. So you just follow the rule, change the coordinates. Let's see where we're at. For the rest of the problems, it's the same situation, but they've given the coordinates for you. Down here, you don't actually have to graph. You just have to follow the rule. And for 11 through 14, you're simply looking, what happened to my coordinates? Did they flip-flop? Did they change sign? Is it a 90, a 180, or a 90-degree counterclockwise? Okay, when you are done with your practice problems, your exit ticket is right here. You want to complete the homework and then complete this exit ticket. You can go ahead and do this on a piece of scrap paper or a sticky note. Okay, so pause the video at any time. You may rewatch this video as many times as needed to get the necessary information. I just want to finish off by doing a couple example problems. So what I notice happens to my W is that all the signs change. So I know this is a negative x comma negative y, which is a 180-degree rotation. And then this is like number 11 on your homework, a 180. Well, all I'm going to do is like P prime is going to go to negative 1, negative 4. Q prime would be at negative 4, negative 5. So the rule is just to change the sign. So again,